Welcome everybody. I'm very pleased to be here with Christian Laing from Standout Socks for the Money Carer podcast. And this is our 13th podcast, so we're starting to understand what we need to do now a little bit better from day one, shall we say. But Christian, welcome to the Money Carer podcast. Great to have you on. And I wonder whether you'd be so kind as to introduce yourself and Standout Socks.
13th podcast, what a scary number that is, eh?
You know what? And it's Friday the 13th today as well.
I know.
I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it.
So my name's Christian. I'm a co-founder and director at Standout Socks. There's 3 other co-founders in the team. My little brother Ross, who has Down syndrome, who is the real reason we started the business. And then Natalie, who is my better half, who actually does the work while me and Ross front it and have all the fun.
And how long have you been going now, Christian?
So we're just coming up to our 3rd birthdays on October the 3rd. So, you know, when we first started, I didn't think we'd get this far, if I'm honest. But yeah, we're just about to hit our 3rd birthday, which aligns with Down Syndrome Awareness Month, which is in October as well. So we started on the 3rd of October for the start of Down Syndrome Awareness Month. And it was out of COVID, really, it all got started. So Ross was living with mum and dad because of the COVID restrictions, and Down syndrome was very high on the critical level. Me and Nat got furloughed and we started selling vintage clothing out of my mum and dad's. My mum and dad are upholsterers by trade. We come from an upholstery family. And they had a unit and we were just flogging some old vintage stuff out the back of it. And anyway, we're on furlough, so it was just to bide our time, really, just because we were waiting to go back to work. And Ross, he was struggling. He was really, really struggling through that period without the interaction.
Because of isolation, because just not being able to go anywhere, see his mates, all that stuff.
Well, our Ross he doesn't live at home with my mum and dad. He lives with 5 other lads that all have various needs. So he's lived on his own for a while, so he's used to his own space. He's used to people not telling him what to do. You know, living at home with my mum and dad is, you know, not ideal at times. I've done it myself when I've moved back to the UK.
Yeah, we've all been there, haven't we?
So yeah, he was struggling. Confidence was down. He's very charismatic character, our kid. But you know, you could tell it was taking its toll. So I was like, why don't he come in once he had his jab, and we could bubble in a 5. It's like, why didn't he just come in? We can have a laugh and a joke in work, and he can do a bit of work. So he came in and he helped me package a few of the vintage clothes up, and then before we know it, it was time to go back to work. We've been doing it 2 or 3 months, and I was like, I'd always wanted to do something with him. I was seeing a lot of potential within him. He'd not worked for 6 years, so it was like, let's just roll the dice. And other stuff had happened. Become a dad.
So where did the idea come from? Where did the spark? I always like asking entrepreneurs when we get on the podcast. What was that moment when it became Socks? The idea.
Socks is used in the Down syndrome community anyway. So Down syndrome day is the 21st of March. So probably rewind. Down syndrome is created by the triplication of the 21st chromosome. Yeah. So what that means is me and you have an XY chromosome, 2 chromosomes of 21, and people with Down syndrome have 3. Okay, so Down syndrome day is the 21st of March because of that. And on the 21st of March, over the last probably 10 to 15 years, people normally wear odd socks to create awareness.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
And that is because the chromosomes look like socks and chromosomes look very like each other under a microscope.
Right, okay.
So Down syndrome and socks is not a new thing, and we don't profess that it is.
It's new to me. I'm learning now, so yeah.
Yeah, we were like, well, we should just instead of just doing it for 1 day a year, why not do it, you know? And inherently, there is a problem in this country. Our Ross has always struggled to find work, always struggled to even find voluntary positions. So we wanted to highlight that as well, that there is a problem out there and people are not getting opportunities and not being, you know, the ability of someone is not being seen.
I get how you made the connection. That's fascinating. I did not know that. That's educated me, certainly.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners will know, but I guess most won't, to be honest. They're fascinating. And so you got the idea. I get that. Brilliant. So what happened next? What did you do next? You've had the idea. How do you?
We launched a website in 2020, I think, or 2020, the COVID year, 3 years ago. And we launched with 3 designs. We didn't have, you know, no one's bankrolling us at that point. We didn't have investors. It was mine and Nat's money that started it. So we just rolled the dice, ordered 1,000. You know, there's minimum order quantities. You can't just go out and buy 2 socks and see what happens. Order 3,000 pairs of socks to start. We're very lucky. Nat is very good on the backside of stuff, as in she can run a website, she can build a website on platforms.
But this do e-commerce and what have you. And
we've taught ourselves everything. When we came to this, we didn't know anything. Nat's taught herself everything. So Nat took kind of care of all that, and I'm kind of the creative and quite the dreamer and the pushy one, I suppose, if you want to call it that.
So Nat does all the work, as you said.
Yeah, and then our kid is a people person like no other. I mean, when people see him walking down the street, generally they'll smile at him even if they don't know him. So that's the first barrier straight away, that Ross just nips around. But I've never seen him buy a pint. That lad he's had that same fiver in his wallet for the last years. Let me tell you,
he'll be a millionaire soon.
Yeah, I don't think he knows how much a pint costs, to be honest with you. So between the three of us, we've got a lot of different skills, and we've learned a lot. Like, we'd never run a business before. We just went for it. I can't, we're just doers. Instead of talking about it, we just do it, and then we'll just pick up the pieces after it. We never say that we're doing it the right way or the wrong way. We're just doing it our way, and then whatever becomes of that in long term, short term, it becomes of it. So yeah, we've got a few, as a business, a few pillars that we stick to, but apart from that, we just do it and see what happens.
Now, a lot of people come up with good ideas in business, which is great, but it's very different skills to actually make them happen. And a lot of it is just hard graft, hard work, taking a risk, giving it a go. You think something will work, you can talk about it all day, we can give it a go. And some things work and some things don't. Certainly that's my experience of business over the years. What would you say the main challenge was? So you ordered 3,000 pairs of socks, minimum order, you've got your website up. What happened next? What were the challenges? Who was the first order, if that's not sort of confidential or what have you?
So our friends and family got behind us from the start, which gave us a bit of leeway, and then we didn't really think about corporate, and then corporate started coming in, and we're like, oh right, okay, maybe this is a way. And then they developed it over time. The hardest thing was for the first 2.5 years is me and Natalie still had to work jobs. So I had 2 jobs, Natalie had 3 jobs, while juggling a 5, 6, 7-year-old. So it's not been easy. Like I said, we've always stuck to the fact that we wanted to stay a business, in the sense of that, for me, there's no reason. So we're trying to get away from the status quo that just because someone has a disability, you label him with a charity or CIC immediately. For me, that's a stigma that needs to change. And we could have very easily in the early years changed to a CIC or a charity and got a load of funding. We could fill this, the amount of emails we get, we could fill this place with volunteers, all day, every day. But we choose to pay our staff for every hour they work. And we choose to see the ability in our recruitment, if you may say, all obviously from the frustration of being the big brother of, a young lad that had so much potential that nobody would see.
Standing on your own 2 feet without any handouts sort of thing.
There's been prior to us, so I can't remember the call, Remploy or something like that. They were a business, but I think they're highly subsidised by the government. And then
they're not around anymore, are they? I remember them from a few years back, actually, yeah.
And that's the point there. They're not around anymore because the subsidies stopped. So unless Stand Out can stand on its own 2 feet and not rely on donations, volunteers, then I don't think anything's going to change long term. But I think we could be that catalyst to show that it's possible and show that it can change. And then we can build that blueprint that we're still figuring out and help other families in where we were navigate that and show them that it's not all dark. We get so many emails from people with young children with learning disabilities that just don't see a way forward once they leave education at 18, 21. At 21, they just roll off the end of a conveyor belt, really. Yeah. And then, they can go and volunteer, and that's all great. There's a place for that. But I think it's time to start looking at it a different angle and trying a different way. And like I said before, we're not saying we're doing it the right way. We're just doing it our way. And apparently it's never been done before in a sense of as a business. Again, I don't know whether that's true or false, but our HR company can't find a blueprint of what we're trying to do. So it has its challenges, as you can imagine, but ultimately
you're a proper sort of what do you think about it? What you've had an idea, you didn't know it was going to work it out, but you had a gut feel. You thought, we've got the talent within the team. you put your hand in your own pocket to fund it. You've taken a risk, and it's paid off. And it probably hasn't paid off overnight. It's probably, a lot of lessons learned. I'd do things differently, but that'd be time again, and this, that, and the other. But ultimately, you've taken a risk because you believed in something, and clearly the business is growing, and you've obviously, your gut feel about, well, we think this is something that people want was right, because it's clearly taken off. And it's admirable. It's the fact that Ross has got downs. It's kind of neither here nor there in the context of you just started a business and Ross is part of it. You had a great idea. You've got different skills that you brought to the table, and it's working. There'll be challenges along the way, as there is in any business. But I guess obviously, I've known about you for a while, and then obviously there was the Dragon's Den appearance as well. How did that come about? What sort of led you to that? To think, well, actually, we could get investment here, and what's the story there? I'm sure a lot of our listeners would be interested in that side of things.
Obviously, it's something that I've watched Dragon's Den since we were on the 21st, 21st series.
I remember. Yeah, used to love it.
So it's something that we all wanted to do. Ross is a big fan of Stephen Bartlett as well. He's fully aware of Stephen Bartlett. So we were just like, let's just apply. And we applied, and we didn't hear anything, to be honest with you. And I was confident.
Just apply online or something. Is that how it works? Yeah,
we applied online, and we were confident in the fact. I was confident in the fact that if it got put in front of someone, then we'd get at least spoken to about it. But we didn't hear anything for weeks and weeks. Anyway, I phoned and was like, "Have you seen our application?" So we went through it very quickly. From then, we did.
Is it still in Manchester? They used to do it in Manchester, didn't they?
Yeah, it was in Manchester. I think
it's still there. Okay.
It's been where we filmed has been turned into a go-karting track or something like that, I think. But yeah, we're trying to be a business. So why wouldn't we want to be on the biggest business program in the UK? And then if you probably put in Shark's Tank and all that around the world. And to be fair, we were grilled as a business and seen as a business by them.
Yeah.
And that's why when people are always like, I can't believe Deborah Meaden dropped out, I'm glad she did, because that gives us, validation as a business that someone is like, it's just not for me. This business is not for me. Because she could have very easily gone, and she didn't. So, if she's listening, good on her. So we're trying to be mainstream. So another thing that we try and do with Stand Out is to be more mainstream, because I think if you're a charity or a CIC, you're hitting the same people constantly. Whereas if we try and push it mainstream and educate mainstream, then hopefully that'll speed change up quicker, rather than try and hit the same people constantly with donations and funding and stuff.
Almost pushing on open doors, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It's, as you say, taking it mainstream, not just a more established channel.
Yeah, not just stay in the box. We've worked with a lot of Premier League clubs, rugby clubs, to try and get, we're trying to get to people that know nothing about Down syndrome or nothing about disabilities, learning disabilities. That's the people that we're trying to get to. And by doing mainstream TV like that, you get to 4 or 5 million, I think, watch that.
You get a huge audience then to share your message with.
Yeah, so yeah, it was an experience. Our kid just floated through it like he does. Me and Natalie were very nervous. We were in there 2 hours. And we were treated as a business, like I said. The pitch is only 3 minutes.
Do you know, I deliberately haven't watched it. I wanted to have the podcast. Yeah, I deliberately haven't watched it because I didn't want to. I wanted to get your take on it and what sort of your experience as to how it came about. And I'll watch it afterwards, but I deliberately haven't. For the podcast.
That's how it came about. I'd say, in all honesty, the edit was a bit too hoary, as in. We spoke about a lot of things in there that were business stuff that, Tuka talked about the quality of the sock, and we talked about our corporate partners, and we talked about a lot of things that were edited out. But I suppose they've got a TV show to sell at the end of the day and people to watch. So I can appreciate that. So we actually really got going the day after or 2 days after when we went on the BBC Breakfast News. Obviously, that was through Dragon's Den. But then when me and Ross were able to sit and actually talk unedited about what we were trying to do and what we were trying to achieve, that's when we've seen a massive uplift on. Because again, I don't think people get. So this is the hardest part of what we do, yeah, because there's so much status quo and so much, people will message us and say, I can do this pro bono for you because you're a charity. People just see that. They don't see, because they're so used to that. So we're trying to get our story out, and that's the hardest thing about what we do.
Yeah.
And if it's highly edited, it's difficult to get that. But if we sit and talk about it, then it's more easy, because I think people get your passion, and people get your, people actually can understand where you're coming from, rather than a 5 minute, 10 minute, I don't know, bit on TV. But it's going to take time.
I once had, I forget who it was, I had a good bit of advice from, I don't know, what's mate man Dave Keller. He once told me, Dave was an investor. I'm going back about 25 years ago now. And Dave, he was a dragon, I guess he was. For a big insurance company, he managed their investment fund. So he'd have businesses pitching them all the time, what have you. I remember having a chat with him about things in a pub years ago. And he said to me, Sean, the good ideas always come through in the end if you've got the right people behind them. And that's not about, and that's what I said before, it's easy to talk the talk. It's very different to walk the walk. Anyone can have a good idea, and people do. It's a very different skill set, either as an individual or a team, to actually then translate that into something that is a business that then can, wobbly stand on its feet and then go from there. And you learn all the time. I certainly do. The story is, it's not really different than any other business, but it's inspiring because of, I guess, the message that you're trying to, that resonates through it. So it's absolutely fascinating. When we were having a chat in Warrington, when I picked up the socks the other day, you sort of gleaned a little bit about your aspirations. And I know it's early days and what have you, but I wonder whether you could share a little bit about that with the listeners, about, where, the fair wind behind you and all that stuff, where you'd like the business to go and how you'd like to spread the message.
Yeah, so I'm the dreamer, I'd probably say. So, we're recruiting at the moment. We're recruiting more people to join Ross's team. And Ross, shows everyone what to do and stuff like that. It's not like I stand there. And people can, join us on TikTok most days and see what happens in it. So that's the first step, is for Standout to become the leading employer of people with learning disabilities. And then obviously we've been so our brand logo doesn't have anything in it, i.e. socks or anything like that. It's just Standout. So as a brand, we then, again, like I said before, want to help other families start whatever they kind of maybe fund it, and then show them how to do it. But that's obviously 5-6 years down the line, maybe, I don't know.
You've got to inspire people, though. Whether you already have, of course, but I think you'd be surprised how open people would be to listening to you in terms of...
People have got no choice at the moment. We had no choice but to start, Ross was just going to go and sit indoors for another years. Yeah. Or we could have done something about it. But taking that step's scary. Yeah. Taking that step, you need a certain amount of money. If you make one wrong step, that's the end.
Yeah.
We'll have navigated all that, hopefully. And then, I say hopefully, who knows, but, and then be able to help them families, people build something under the Standout logo, so that they can have their son, daughter, brother, auntie, uncle working. And then obviously, our Ross wants to go to Japan, so Tokyo, Japan's probably in the pipeline at some point. But this could be rolled out, everywhere.
It could.
And that's the dream, because,
as I say, I do believe the good ideas come through. You've got the right people that, where there's a will, there's a way, and all of that stuff. I believe all that. I really do think that, if you've got the determination, the route isn't usually straight. It's usually zigzag, isn't it? And then you take a step back and you take a step down, and then suddenly you take. But as long as you're going forward, that's the main thing. That's what my experience of most businesses is, with entrepreneurs. Anyway, what I really liked when I was in there this week is the banter in the office. You don't half pop some flat.
It's non-stop. We've got some right
characters. It's relentless.
Well, that's the basis of Standout. The basis is our staff, and our staff are incredible. Not only are they incredible what they do, but they're top to be around. It's such a, fun.
It's fun, yeah. Good fun and hard work.
The hard part of this job is not the staff. The hard part of this stuff is accountancy, marketing, the business side.
Yeah. But do you know something? Loads of businesses would say it's the other way around.
Exactly. The staff are nothing but, and it's like, our staff at Standout are incredible. I go out on the floor and work with them for a break, for a break from the business stuff. It's it is very bantery. Me and Ross
It
are
really is, yeah,
quite laddie anyway. So that's why when we recruit, we have to kind of think about who's going to fit into the team.
Fit into the team, yeah, of course, yeah.
Who's going to fit in with people, because everyone's very individual and stand out. Everyone has their own character. So there's a lot that goes into that kind of thought process when we're thinking about what we're doing going forward. It's not just a case of let's employ and try. You know, we want to employ people and hopefully have everyone here forever. You know, we want Ross to be, you know, hopefully in years to come, full pension, full pay. Do you know what I mean? But that's just doesn't happen at the start.
No, it takes a while.
It's tough. It's really, really tough. You know, and we're so grateful for everyone that gets behind it, because so what we do is not just employ. Yeah, we do employment. People are fascinated to see how Ross make a cup of tea. You know, we put stuff out online that, you know, Ross making his dinner in a microwave, and people are like, "What? Ross, he can make his dinner in he's a grown man." You know.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. No, so, it is, I've seen some of the TikTok. They are funny about many. They're actually, you know, they're just abusing.
We try and do it lightly, but there is a reason of why we're pumping out this creation. Yeah. And when we actually get to the point where we can have a content creator, because at the end of the day, it's still only Ross, me, and Natalie that's coming up and doing all these ideas between.
It's you, the throne.
Yeah, we've run a business on an iPhone 10 and 11. That's pretty much how we've done it. But like, it's the socks as well. So the socks are designed to start conversations. We don't just, you know, not just socks. We want everyone that's wearing them to become advocates of what we're trying to do. So when someone sees a sock, someone will say, "Oh, they're a bit. Where'd you get them from?" And then you can say, "I got them from here. This is what they're doing. This is what they're trying to do. This is what. Oh, why don't we do that?" And it'll change opinions. It'll change.
Well, I'm looking for, as I said, we're exhibiting at the Professional Deputies Forum next Thursday, the 19th in Leeds. That's why we said let's put the QR code on the thing, so it links to the podcast, so your message gets out. So I'm really looking forward to the solicitors and the other individuals and organisations will be there, so they, you know, in our small part, we can help spread that awareness, because your passion shines through. The business idea is great. And as I said, we were delighted. For me, it was a no-brainer. I've known about you for a while, and I've followed you on LinkedIn and stuff for ages. So I've just thought, what a fantastic. When the Dragon's Den thing popped up, I thought, good on you. But you know, but I'd known about it before. I know you're a busy man, Christian, and it's 5:30 on a Friday afternoon. And you know, thank you for your patience with getting this out today. I know you're knackered. I know it's coming to Christmas, and that's a very busy time for you. So thank you for coming on to the Money Care podcast. Look forward to keeping in touch with you, and I'll definitely give you some feedback about the event next week. And we look forward to giving your product out to lots and lots of lawyers next week.
Thank you very much. For everyone that gets the socks, then they become the advocates, and please tell our story. It'll change a lot of things in this world.
Fantastic, and the podcast will help with that. So thank you very much, Christian. Have a great weekend.